Hello, girls and guys. I'm Zsuzsa.
And I'm Aaron. And this is the Hungarian Sweet and Sour.
We are here to explain and present for you the country called Hungary.
This sweet and sour country, this cultural community, the nation, piece of land, and a state. Of
Oh
course.
yes, a state.
Okay, for tonight's sake, let's have a quick recap about Hungary, shall we?
Alright? So Hungary is in Central Europe. The Hungarians speak a unique language.
It's not Slavic or Germanic like most of the European people speak.
Hungary is a member of the NATO and the European Union for the last 16 years.
Wow, 16 years already.
Yes, 16 years. I remember when we joined the EU community, that was a dream came true. I was on the riverside of the Danube and the crew with my friends, and everybody was celebrating and partying. Since then, one of my 3 friends has started a new life in London, and the other was fled to Germany. Where were you back then?
Oh, I was in the streets celebrating the junction, but I remember only one thing. I held a girl's hand. Yeah, honestly, I don't remember anything else. Sorry. But,
Nice.
help me out, Zsuzsa. What are we doing here? I mean, what is this channel about?
We are here to show Hungary's politics, economic, cultural, society, and much, much more.
Great. So, without further ado, let's dive into our very first topic. What on earth is going on in Hungary?
After the transition from communism and dictatorship to capitalism and democracy,
Az a döntés született odafent, mármint a minisztériumban, ami a közelgő érettségi vizsgát is sokban befolyásolja, hogy tekintettel a politikai helyzet alakulására, az 1945 utáni érettségi tételek történelemből nem képezik az idei vizsgatárgyat. Ez mindannyiunk számára öröm, nektek azért, mert 4 tétellel kevesebbet kell megtanulnotok, számomra pedig azért, mert ami ebben áll, az elképesztően magas valóságtartalmú ugyan, de 100%-osnak azért nem mondanám.
Hungary had every chance to catch up with the more advanced Western European countries. After a short period of recession in the early 90s, Hungary finally stepped onto a path which opened the country up in every way. The economy started to grow, institutions and the democracy itself started to solidify.
Or at least we thought so.
And after a decade, Hungary finally could join into the EU and NATO. People were believed that after 10 or 15 years, Hungarians would live a lifestyle like their so-called brother-in-law, Austria.
But thanks to the corrupted political elite and continuous bad governance, coupled with the 2008 global financial crisis, all hope just disappeared. Mr. Viktor Orbán and his ruling Fidesz party, who already led the government between 1998 and 2002, after his big election victory in 2010, could start to reshape the country into his needs.
A mai napon Magyarországon beteljesedett egy történelmi tanulság. 20 év tanulsága, a rendszerváltás nagy tanulsága, mely úgy hangzik, rendszert váltani nem lehet. Rendszert csak megbuktatni és megdönteni lehet. Megdönteni és újat alapítani helyette. Ma ez történt.
With the 2/3 supermajority of the parliament, he altered the election law, pushing the election system towards a more unequal framework. Redrawing the electoral districts.
Yeah, it's called gerrymandering, and if you would like to know more about it, click here.
Rewarding the winning party extra votes.
This approach is unique and frankly really fascinating in its own way. It's called winner's compensation. Because, every winner needs some extra compensation, right?
Moreover, the system gives funds to every party who got their chance to run the election. And that they followed a lot of fake parties, and a lot means 20 something, appearing both in 2014 and 2018 elections.
Yeah, and this leads us to the next characteristic, the noise. Viktor Orban, the Fidesz party and their circle quickly started to change the press in Hungary. Since 2010, more than 100 free and independent news media outlets, both on online and offline, ceased to exist or were merged into the state propaganda conglomerate. And I use the term state propaganda not without hyperbole. With more than 200 offline and online media outlets pushing the state government propaganda day by day, and there's no difference if a news company is held privately or owned by the state. And in the meantime, Hungary is a favorite place for our beloved international news company, the Russian troll army. Yeah. In fact, the Hungarian state propaganda often throws up the very same spin as the Russian troll army. The effect of this high-level media noise is twofold. Firstly, there are very few free and independent media outlets left in the country, and when I say few, I mean less than a dozen. And secondly, even if ordinary people can recognize everyday propaganda, because of so much noise, of course, they can't decide which media is trustful and which one isn't. And that is the main objective for the rulers of Hungary.
Whilst Orban and his party accused former governments with corruption and negligence, and he was right, they raised the corruption to a whole new level. Truth, legitimate-looking procurement processes, they pump both the domestic budget source and EU funds to their oligarchs and relatives. His childhood friend, Lőrinc Mészáros, had been a guestman until 2010 and after just 9 years became the wealthiest Hungarian oligarch.
Hát nem tartom magam oligarchának, egyszerűen dolgozom, és a munka eredménye. Mi az, hogy korrupció? Kire gondol, ki a korrupt? De ne tegyen föl buta kérdéseket. Valószínűleg lehet, hogy ön korrupt.
Orban's son-in-law also got huge state of local contracts. Even the OLAF, the EU Anti-Fraud Office, stated the contracts were shady, only the prosecution service of Hungary saved his ass. Billions of euros moved into the pockets of loyal oligarchs and people of those closest to Orban. They created a system which based on EU funds, and only those who are loyal to the government and Fidesz party will benefit. Moreover, the financial support which comes from the EU gets used to renovate its streets and squares, not for productive innovation and companies which can help the country is competitive.
Meanwhile, NGOs' activity has been severely restricted by the government, with budget cuts, legislation, and even the use of law enforcement. A couple of years ago, the Hungarian government literally launched a campaign against NGOs, causing diplomatic conflicts. Institutions lost their independence through budget cuts being merged into loyal offices or having loyal party members appointed to lead that institution. The government has serious influence over the prosecution service and recently started to dismantle the independent courts. Loyal chancellors have been appointed over universities and they started to take over the Hungarian Academy of Science as well. And even that if it wasn't enough, they started to reshape Hungary's cultural life, supporting companies who represent their own cultural agenda and cut the budgets of those who don't approve their constant war against Western democracy and Brussels.
The opposition parties are divided, and if they would like to form somewhat joint power against Orban and the Fidesz party, their lack of credibility is a big obstacle. So, yes, Hungarian opposition parties are part of the problem too.
And do you know what it is called? I mean, the whole system. It's the Program of National Cooperation.
National cooperation for the well-being.
Yeah, their well-being, I suppose.
So, what are the specifics of Hungary?
Firstly, there are bunches of democratic institutions, but they use them exclusively for their own agenda.
Secondly, it's essential to use the word democratic as much as possible and to use it as a synonym for the dictatorship of the majority.
Elnézést kérek, a demokrácia arról szól, hogy a többség diktatúrája a kisebbség fölött. Kétharmados döntéssel született ez a döntés.
Always referring to the people's authority and sovereignty. In fact, Mr. Orbán states that this is the real democracy.
Cannot combine an effective and trustworthy opposition as a fragmented and guided opposition helps to show that everything's just alright.
First, there is no oppression, and if somebody decides to leave, it's absolutely fine. The most active people leave anyway, so it's just one less pain in the ass with the borders.
Like your girlfriends back in the day.
London and Germany and
Yeah.
everywhere.
There's no need to ban NGOs. It's easy enough to make their life much, much more difficult. And by the way, they have their own NGOs for justification purposes. I mean, the government has their own NGOs.
Diverse and contrasting media landscape on paper, but in reality, very few free and independent media press left, like Index.hu.
Yeah. 7. Always find an enemy. Western Europe, Brussels and the bureaucrats, George Soros, immigrants and NGOs, the LGBTQI community, or those who are worried about climate change.
Yes, climate change is a part of Soros' divisus scheme, and I'm not joking.
Yeah, she's not joking. Actually, anybody and anything can be in the focus of a hate campaign.
Every aspect of the political and economic environment, including the number one question, who controls the money, has an underlying purpose: to maintain the power of the greater good, democratic and patriotic Hungary, which is the greater good. And surprise, surprise, it justifies everything.
So, this is happening in Hungary. This is the way. But hold on a second. Why do the people of Hungary keep voting and voting for Viktor Orbán and the Fidesz/Christian Democrats party alliance? How can they get away with it?
This is the $100 million question, Aaron.
Yeah.
But hold your horses, Aaron. We will discuss that in the next time.
Thanks for watching, folks. And if you have anything to add or something to ask, feel free to do so below. Also, check the show notes. And if you like this video, share it with your free Fs, friends, family and fools. And please, give a thought to smash that subscribe button.
You can follow us on Twitter and Facebook. This is the Hungarian Sweet and Sour, and we will see you next time.
Yeah, bye!
Bye!